When I was a kid, here we started out Palm Sunday joyously, shouting Hosanna to the King of David, and then hearing this awful story, crucify him, crucify him, and seeing such horrific details. When they finally came with swords and clubs to seize him, this is what it said, and they all left him and fled. That's what his closest disciples did. They all left him and fled. A little while later, Jesus had said to Peter, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. And it happened. And the response was that Peter broke down and wept. It's an awful story. Why do we tell it? Why do we hear this every year, twice a year in Holy Week? And I think the reason is not to try to make us feel guilty. That's what happened when I was a kid. It was, your sins did that to Jesus. You might as well have been standing at the cross shouting, crucify him. That's the message I got. But I don't think that's what we're supposed to do. I don't think this is a week for us to feel guilty. It's a week for us to become alert. It's a week for us to hear this story and ask ourselves, what does it mean now in the present? Yesterday, after preaching and hearing the Passion again, proclaiming it, in the evening, this caught my eye or my thoughts. I was thinking of all of the experiences of people like in Gaza Strip today, a genocide where children and adults are just being killed, mowed down. And for whatever the excuse or reason that we use, and I know Jerusalem was attacked, but this is just horrific. But not only that, I asked myself, because I was aware of a few cases of genocide in this century, last century, because when I drive down the 60 freeway, I go help at Miraculous Metal Church sometimes, and it says the Armenian genocide tribute. So I went to search for it one day, and I couldn't find it. And I went because, well, here we are, little Armenia, right here. There are so many Armenians in Glendale, and I thought to honor them, I'd like to see their monument at all the peoples that were killed and thrown into exile. So I went to talk to Miss S. I won't say the name because she'll answer me right here. And this is what I just put, modern era genocides. Modern era genocides. This one came up. The genocide in Darfur, the Rwandan genocide, genocide in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the killing fields, the Cambodia genocide, Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution, the Holocaust, the rape of Nanking, Holodomor Ukrainian genocide, the Armenian genocide, the Herero genocide, genocide of the Native Americans, the transatlantic slave trade. Have we learned nothing? Have we learned nothing? This horrible act, it does get repeated. You know, again, growing up, I remember the building of museums so that we would never forget the Holocaust. So the negative way of putting it is don't forget the Holocaust, but the positive way is remember the Holocaust so that we never repeat it. But the truth is we do repeat these things. There's a whole list right there I read to you of genocide where nations and sometimes single leaders are in the place where they're able to destroy a whole cultural group. It is amazing to me, except that I recognize the power of sin. And that, to me, is the reason why we read this every year. Not to feel guilty, not to shame ourselves, but to alert ourselves, to awaken within us a spirit so divine that we say never, never, never would we participate in something like this. Well, actually, I thought of something else too, and part of it is one of my experiences when I used to go to Kansas a little more often. I'd fly into one city and then drive down 70, and as I would drive down the highway, there's a city there, a little town actually, called Nicodemus. And I was just mesmerized just by the fact that they used that biblical name Nicodemus. So I looked it up, and it turns out it's the only completely black town in Kansas. And after all of the stuff between the South and the North and slavery and whatever, there was some freedom given and people moved away, and Kansas allowed them to make their own town. Now, again, I'm not trying to be gross or any way insulting, but Kansas is pretty white. In fact, it's white, 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 and then a little more white. I know, my family lives there, and I've been back there. And I just was astounded that there was this completely black town in Kansas. But then I also remembered that it took 71 years for me to hear about the devastation of the Oklahoma City when they came in, the white community, and destroyed this black city. They destroyed it, killed most everybody. And I asked myself, why was I never told that? Why was I never told that? Why would we hide that truth? We don't hide this truth. We hear this truth at least twice a year, dramatically, with several readers so that we are drawn into it. And I hope awakened within us a spirit that says, never again. Never would we join a mob to hate. Never would we join a mob to hate. And if that's what this day does, this is a profound, profound experience, the proclamation of this passion of Christ. So that if we are changed to the very core by this sacred story, that we find awakened in us a powerful love that would say we must do everything we can. We must become everything that we can to live this love of Christ and to proclaim it by our lives.